So I'm on my way to Negro Creek Road to meet Iveta and Larry, who are residents of Negro Creek Road since 2008. I've already had a visit with them once and had a great conversation. When they first moved there, they wanted to know the history of the name, but couldn't find much. So today we're going to discuss some questions that I think might be useful to you after watching the Negro Creek Road history. And hopefully you've also watched the race and culture video to get a background on the different perspective I'm sharing. Iveta and Larry moved to the property in 2008 and began to uncover its rich history.
The walls that we see on our property, we don't know if they were done by the original black settlers at that time in the early 19th century. We've asked Carolyn if she can try and dig up any records that talks about the subdivision into 5-acre parcels. And she said she mentioned one thing that talked about 5-acre squares that's sort of the working unit. We have 2 on our 10 acres. If you look at the aerial photographs or Google Earth of this part of the world, you'll see the 100-acre lots, but those 100-acre lots are broken into 5-acre squares. So it's usually 2 squares deep and 20 squares long.
Wow.
Or 25 squares long.
Yeah, so what Carolyn said is that this particular 5-acre lot being marked, and then the 100 acres containing these 5-acre lots, that same sort of method of marking was used in other black settlements, she said. So she's going to investigate whether they also built stone walls or stone borders, and she will let us know. So if they cleared the land, what did they do with the rocks? Because the rocks are more plentiful than any other
It's
thing
a
around
great
here.
place for growing rocks.
So what inspired you to reach out to me?
Yes. So after we found your paper, we decided that we should do something in order to make this known for people who pass through, and also for people who live here, because we also found that most of the people whom we spoke with didn't really know about this, about the history. So once we found out your paper, we decided to approach Ontario Heritage Trust with an idea of a plaque.
The proximate cause of our Iveta getting in touch with you was actually the recent vandalism. What can we do about it? Well, we reported the MTO signs missing. Our neighbor actually reported the township signs missing, and I think they're still missing a month and a bit later. So that was our response. Well, what can we do? And they were talking about some sort of a physical marker or some sort of art project, and then we were talking about it, and we came up with the idea. Well, a physical marker might meet the same fate, i.e., spray painted or knocked down, as the road signs do. So why not a virtual marker?
Yeah.
A virtual marker that would pop up on Google Maps as you are passing through an area, just like the restaurants and shops pop up and coffee shops when you are passing through an area. People who are passing through an area, very often they are just puzzled. They do not, it's very difficult to access the information about why the name is Negro Creek Road. So then people would just click on the location pin, and it would be connected with Wikipedia page where the history of this area would be explained. And your paper, we found, was a perfect content for this Wikipedia page. We thought it was very authentic. It was basically the story as it was told by historical records and Black people. So it wasn't something that was written by somebody who is just an outsider.
How does the sign affect the residents of Negro Creek Road?
Some people in the neighborhood are puzzled by the name. They do not understand the name. They don't know about black settlements. They also do not understand that there was a fight to keep the name by the black activists. They don't know anything about it. So let's say one resident I talked to keeps calling the township, and he's urging them to change the name, and the township does not seem to be able to explain why they can't do that. Then there are some people who understand the name, and they know that there is a history connected with the name.
At the beginning, yes, I think I did feel an embarrassment, and I would often preface it, I would say, the awkwardly named Negro Creek Road. Not unfortunate, I never used that word, but I said awkwardly named. And I don't do that anymore. I just say, and I think I don't do that anymore because I have a fuller understanding of the name and its history and what it signifies. So I just say Negro Creek Road, and if I get puzzled, I say it was originally a black settlement, the terminus of the Underground Railway, beginning of the 19th century, 50 families, which is 10 times as many people as actually live here now. They originally cleared, they were the original clearers of the land. And clearing the land in this part of the world involves more than cutting down trees. It involves moving a lot of rock. It goes better than indifferent. I mean, there's curiosity. People would inquire, why is it named Negro Creek Road? And there's certainly hostility. I mean, spray painting over the word Negro is a hostile act. Pulling down the sign with a chain attached to the back of a pickup truck.
The spray painting of the word Negro, the disappearing of another road sign at the other end, and then the disappearing of the large signs on Highway 6, both southbound and northbound. That never happened like that before. We usually had just one sign being taken down, so that, I could see that, somebody thought that was just something.
A cool thing to have in their day.
Yeah, I get that. But this was different. This was very systematic. Like, there were basically two small road signs and two large signs.
And it all happened on the same night.
And it all happened on the same night.
Or we noticed it on the same day. So this didn't happen over a period of time. This was most likely the same party did both.
Do you think it's important that people are aware of Negro Creek's history?
I think it's important that we all are aware of our history, and that our history be honestly told, blemishes and all. I mean, are people in general aware? I think people in general are not aware, as Iveta has found out.
No, they aren't.
The questions.
It's a very simple answer to that.
The people who our close, our friends, who, our local community, which ourselves and our two neighbors who live right at the corner of Negro Creek Road and Concession 2, they're aware. But they're aware because we share these conversations, and we shared your paper, and we're talking about this and saying, well, what can we do? But in general, I think people are not aware, and they haven't taken the time to dig as Iveta did and find, you find initially the Toronto Star article, and then subsequently your paper, and then make contact with yourself and Carolyn. And
most of the people who move here are extremely busy people to dig for history. Although people were curious and people wanted to know, it's basically not anybody's priority to dig. Well, since your paper has been posted on the web, it's not so difficult. But before that, it was tremendously difficult. You would have to basically search archives. And I always intended to search archives, but I just didn't have time.
What is it you would like to see happen moving forward?
Well, I would like to see the history being presented in such a way that Black and white history are integrated, as they were in the past. To have the Black Festival, it's great, but it is sort of like a separate event. For example, at the Grey Roots Museum website, we noticed this precise pattern, is that the Black history was sort of on a separate page. It was a story, whereas the significant markers, historical markers on a Grey Bruce historic communities map, where there was no mention of Black settlements. So we actually wanted the Black history to be integrated with the white history, and we approached the museum, and they did change their website to accommodate this. They also modified the write-up about the Black settlements. So they mentioned quite detailed history of Negro Creek Road, and also the Priceville settlement, which was another very large settlement. So that part is great. That some people who want to dig deeper can now go to the museum website, and the history is there. The road name is a marker, but as we know, that marker doesn't tell a story. And I think people relate to stories better than just to signs.
Well, they were just lovely people, and it adds a whole new meaning to Great Ape. It was fabulous conversation, and I learned so much about them and the history of the area from their perspective. There are many communities in the States right now fighting to take down signs that say Negro Creek, because in their mind and from their perspective, that needs to go away. And that's up to them. It's their story to tell. The story we're passing on is one from the Black community in this region and the people who are descendant from Negro Creek Road. It's important that you subscribe to my channel and share it if you can. The more people that can see the history of Negro Creek Road, the better it'll be for the residents, and maybe the signs will stop being stolen or wrecked. But more importantly, the history of those loyal soldiers that fought and earned property and didn't necessarily get a fair shake will be remembered. Love and respect. The next video I'll be doing is on climate change and how to look at it with a laughing heart and not doom and gloom. So I hope you join me, and don't forget to ring that bell so that you get notification when I post.